services like food stamps. Officials say many applications still need to be processed because of staff shortages. Grand Forks County Social Services says staff shortages are due to retirements and for people leaving to find jobs with higher compensation. This is Ty Schoenert at The Flag and AM1100theflag.com. First with the news when you need to know.
Guess who's attacking Measure 1 and the term limits that 81% of North Dakota voters support?
Let me guess. Career politicians and lobbyists?
You got it. Term limits are working for the people in 36 other states. And with a yes vote on Measure 1, term limits will finally be put to work for us.
I agree. In North Dakota, citizens should be in charge, not career politicians. I'm voting yes on Measure 1 for term limits. Paid for by U.S. Term Limits. Howard Rich, Chairman.
The economy is changing. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. That's the case President Biden keeps making.
We are once again supplying the world the things they need.
Highlighting the CHIPS Act aimed at spurring domestic investment in computer chips as one of his achievements to help grow a more stable economy. The president speaking at a final stop in California before heading to Illinois, and over the weekend, a New York event added in the countdown to Tuesday's midterm elections that Republicans say will punish Democrats for a failing agenda. Many Democratic candidates focusing on issues other than inflation, including Nevada Senator Catherine Cortez Masto, who's in a race considered a toss-up with Republican Adam Laxalt.
Cortez Masto said that the state and country's future depends on this election.
It is not just about protecting a woman's right to choose. It is making sure everybody has a right to vote.
Laxalt is continuing his bus tour across the state. He's visiting every county. And at the stop in Nye County, he was joined by National Border Patrol Council head Brandon Judd. Laxalt said the effects of the border crisis have not been lost on Nevada voters, especially when it comes to fentanyl.
These communities are dealing with this, and it's incredibly dangerous, and we've got to secure this border.
Democratic Governor Steve Sisolak is also locked in a very tight race against Republican challenger Joe Lombardo.
Fox's Alexandria Hoff. President Biden's plan to cancel some student loan debt wins around in court. Justice Amy Coney Barrett, the Supreme Court justice, just declining to block that plan in a challenge brought by a group of borrowers who say the program will lead to tax issues, but it remains on hold because of a previous appeals court ruling in a separate challenge from 6 Republican-led states. A roller coaster on Wall Street after a stronger than expected jobs report for October. The Dow up more than 400 points in the end. The S&P and the NASDAQ also gaining more than 1%. America is listening to Fox News.
Finding the right Medicare plan? Oof, no easy feat. Kind of like those dances my granddaughter loves making me do. But then I found Walgreens Find Rx coverage. Lets you compare plans online, over the phone, or in person. Made Medicare shopping so easy. Plus, I found plans with low-cost copays. I can get down with that. Medicare annual enrollment ends December 7th. Find a plan that's right for you at walgreens.com/Medicare.
Hey, Dak Prescott here. Why do I choose proven quality sleep from Sleep Number? Because better sleep elevates my game. My Sleep Number 360 smart bed helps me fall asleep faster, keeps me cool, and effortlessly adjusts for my best sleep. That's more focus, more edge, and more highlights. And that means more wins for all of us.
Save 40% on the Sleep Number 360 Special Edition Smart Bed plus special financing. Ends Monday. Sleep Number, the official sleep and wellness partner of the NFL. Special financing subject to credit approval. Minimum monthly payments required. See store for details.
Light wind and mainly clear skies continue through this evening and tonight as temperatures drop down to a low of 21. We'll see that wind picking up around 10 to 20 on Saturday. With increasing clouds into the afternoon, we'll have high temperatures in the mid-40s with a slight chance for a rain or snow shower Saturday night. For Sunday, it turns windy with gusts up to 50 miles an hour to the west. It will be partly to mostly cloudy with a high near 41. From the Flag Skywatch Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Justin Storm.
Hi, I'm Josh Christie, father, husband, local business owner, and candidate for District 27 in South Fargo. I'm running for a seat in the North Dakota legislature because District 27 needs proven leaders who will represent their district and its ever-changing needs. As a third-generation North Dakotan, I want to help ensure that our schools are fully staffed, daycare centers are affordable and available, and that we do everything we can to combat rising costs and tax hikes and their effects on everyday families. On November 8th, I'd be honored to have your vote to represent District 27 in Bismarck.
Paid for by Josh Farrell, Brian Shaw, Treasurer.
Live from the PetroServe USA studio, it's the Chris Berg Show, your daily dose of truth to help set you free.
Happy Feel Good Friday. I want to start with some breaking news. Supreme Court has denied a group out of Wisconsin, thanks to Amy Coney Barrett, believe it or not. Obviously put on the seat there in the Supreme Court by President Donald Trump, but she has denied a group out of Wisconsin that wanted to stop President Joe Biden's student loan relief program. So we'll see if there's any movement from some other organizations there. But as of now, the Supreme Court will not be hearing any suits as regards to trying to stop the student loan relief program from President Joe Biden. So welcome to the Chris Berg Show, your daily dose of truth to help set you free. It's a Feel Good Friday. We got a great show in store for you. We're coming to you live from the PetroServe USA studio, helping you and America fuel better from sunny and beautiful Los Angeles, California. We've got a couple of great guests that will be joining us later in the show, and I want to just touch on a few things because we are just 4 days away from Election Day. I mean, that just seems like months ago we were talking about this, like, is this ever going to get here? It is just 4 days away now. I know many of you have been doing the early voting. And if you look at the polling, you just kind of get a sense in your gut that there actually could be a red wave. There's times where you and I talked about, hey, if anyone's going to screw it up, the GOP can screw this thing up. And they've kind of gotten out of their own way because they stayed focused. They've talked about inflation. They've talked about the economy. They've talked about crime. And you see some really interesting things happening with Scott Jensen. I know he's going to be on the show Monday. Steve Hultstrom is going to be sitting in for me. So we'll see what happens in that Minnesota gubernatorial race. But I think the big news, at least to talk about right now, is what happened last night. President Donald Trump, former President Donald Trump, down in Sioux City, Iowa. No mistake that he's in Iowa. Basically said, hey, look, guys, it's close. It's really, really close. I'm going to make a big announcement. If we're going to make America great again, I'll be letting you know very, very soon. Axios had the scoop late last night, early this morning. Sounds like President Trump will be making an announcement shortly after the midterms, as many presuming there's going to be this red wave. He's going to ride that red wave into his announcement. And we'll see how that plays out, right? I don't know if Ron DeSantis is still going to put his hat in the ring or not. I think it's a great move by President Trump because you and I also have talked about, when is the indictment going to come? When and where is the indictment going to come on President Donald Trump? As you've watched the New York Attorney General and many others try to do what they can from a legal perspective to take him out of politics. So we'll find out more, obviously, when that announcement comes true, and if it does come true, which I think we're more than 99% certain that it's going to be. One other thing I want to share with you, interesting article coming out from Real Clear Politics. As you know, they kind of do an averages on all the polls, but there was a question if the GOP, many people presume that the GOP was going to take the House come Tuesday. But there's always been a question about the Senate. There's been some close races down in Arizona, Georgia, New Hampshire. According to the latest information from Real Clear Politics, they are now suggesting that the GOP could walk away Tuesday with a 54-seat majority. They're suggesting that Herschel Walker is going to win in Georgia, that they're going to win, the GOP is going to win in New Hampshire, they're going to win in Nevada, they're going to win in Arizona, they're obviously going to win in Pennsylvania. It would be stunning if Fetterman ends up winning that race after that debate. I shared with you my theory after that debate where, when you're in a seat that could potentially control the power of Washington, D.C., and there's been literally hundreds of millions of dollars put towards your support, you can't just wake up one day after a stroke and say, hey, you know what? I'm just not feeling it. The stroke is making me feel worse. I've got to spend time with my family. You just can't do that. I know it sounds easy to many of us to just wake up one day and say, nah, my health's not right. I got to step away. I think he did the debate because he doesn't really want to win. I know I think he knows he's having some very difficult health challenges with a stroke. He needs to get himself emotionally and mentally and physically much, much better. And so I think that debate was a way, again, this is all speculation on my part, but a way for him to show everybody, hey, here's where I'm at. If you still want to vote for me, great. You know who I'm going to vote. But if you don't, you can understand why after watching that debate. So if the GOP ends up winning the House and the Senate with a 54-46 majority after Tuesday, things could get really, really interesting over the next 2 years. So I think that's the good news come November 8th. The bad news, at least for many of us that watch the TikTok of this every day, 2024 is going to start November 9th. I hate to say that. I don't want to say that, but that's just the reality of where politics is today in America, is that we're going to wrap up the 8th, hopefully get the election results on time. I know President Joe Biden recently said, hey, if you've got to wait for the results, that's just how it's going to be. Wait for those results. But trust me, 2024 is going to start very shortly after November 8th. So we may touch more on this later in the show here on a Feel Good Friday, but I want to introduce a very special guest today that is just doing some incredible, incredible things with his business for our great ag industry, and that is Jake Jornstedt. He's the CEO of Bushel Inc., and they've got a brand new, it's called the Bushel Wallet that just came out, and I would say revolutionizing what's happening in the ag industry as far as payments. There was an interesting report in 2020 that came out from McKinsey. I was reading about this today and had no idea, but they said that the ag industry was the least digitized industry in the world. So Jake saw obviously a problem to solve there, stepped in, and he's doing a great job doing that today. So Jake, welcome back to the show. It's great to see you, my friend.
Thanks for having me on, Chris. I'm looking forward to it.
You know, I sort of presume that, hey, everybody knows Bushel. You guys are crushing it right now. Are you guys in round what, C, D right now? Or
yeah, we raised the C round in April of 21. So put 40 some $40 million together to try to grow this business. And I think we're doing a good job, but lots of work to do.
But for people that maybe aren't familiar with Bushel, can you share with us what's the mission, kind of the genesis of the business?
Yeah, so to that point on McKinsey's report, agriculture is the least digitized major industry in the world. There's 21 major industries that they categorize. We don't think it's the farmer that's the problem. They're driving tractors that are pretty incredible. They've got 5 screens in the combine. I mean, they're not the ones that are having a problem. It's the rest of the supply chain that really hasn't changed the way they do things in 100 years. A lot of paperwork and a lot of problems there. Our goal is to help create a digital infrastructure that complements what our country's built in agriculture physically the last 150, 200 years, from the railroads to the storage capacity at our co-ops and elevators in the farm to our ability to export and feed the world. There's an entire digital process that needs to be put in place to complement that, and that's just not been invested in heavily. And so Bushel's job is to do that. So we started with a simple mission, which is to digitize how a farmer sells their grain. So obviously they got to physically deliver the grain, they've got to grow the grain, but when it comes to interacting with their elevator, it's ridiculous if they still got to pick up the phone, sign paperwork in the mail, pick up a paper ticket whenever they drop the grain truck off, drop the delivery off with the grain truck, and then in the end they're getting a paper check in the mail as well. So everything is paper for the farmer, and if we could just digitize that part of the process, we're going to make things better for everybody, and that's what we spent the last 5 years doing. And frankly, we've done that. If you are using all of our offerings from Bushel at a co-op or an elevator, the farmer doesn't have to pick up their pen and they don't have to touch paper. They can literally do the whole process digitally. And that's what our first goal was.
So, it's really stunning, Jay, because I was doing some of the research for this interview and I looked at the fact you mentioned, like, farmers are still getting paid by check. And I read that. My jaw dropped. I'm thinking, man, and all the progress and innovation that we've seen in fintech, financial tech, for people that aren't familiar with that term, but in fintech, to think that farmers are still going out to the mailbox like, all right, better go sign the back of this check so I can get paid. It was just so shocking to me. And so
not only do they have to sign the back of the check, but then they got to drive to town, because last I checked, there's no farms that are in the city. So they're driving to town, finding the bank, dropping the stupid thing off, just to get their paycheck. I mean, in the end, the revenue for the farm is coming from the elevator when they sell the grain. And so when's the last time you got a paper check for your paycheck? It's just not how we operate. But literally $300 billion this year will be paid to farmers on a paper check, because this industry has not gotten their stuff together, frankly. And there's a lot of work to be done. And that's what we're excited about.
Well, I need you to repeat that number, please, because it's staggering.
$300 billion with a B will be paid to farmers in the United States of America for their grain, and it will be almost entirely on paper check. Very few companies have digitized any kind of payment to the farmer.
So I'm really anxious to find out, because you're such a great entrepreneur, as you were developing the Bushel Wallet, sort of walk us through what that means. And I'm curious how you were leveraging your current community and getting like customer feedback as you were going through that software development process. And What is the Bushel wallet exactly?
So, to be fair, our customers weren't saying, hey, we don't like this paper check thing, we got to fix it.
Really?
They didn't think about it. But when they realized, one of our customers had a story, they had a weekend, the farmer had gotten the wrong check, or they hadn't got the check at all. And the general manager had to have his wife help him pay the farmer with Venmo that weekend because the farmer was so upset about the process. They just had to solve it. And they had to pay him in Venmo. Like, they had to pay him, $5,000, $10,000, whatever it was. The average check for a farmer is $50,000, the average settlement check for a farmer. Wow. And so the fact that those checks are going out, they're that big a dollar, nobody's thinking about it. I mean, PayPal doesn't have an ability to pay a farmer $50,000. Venmo can't pay $50,000. So we had to figure out, how do we make it easy for the facility to pay the farmer and for the farmer to easily access that kind of capital quickly when it comes to getting paid for the grain and then also paying their bill. I mean, you go and buy a whole bunch of fertilizer, that's going to be a $10,000, $50,000, check. Let's make that digital as well. And so our job at first was to deal with these larger dollar amounts that nobody's thinking about in the fintech space, and make it affordable. A paper check costs these companies between $5 and $50, depending on how many times they got to deal with pushing the paper and resending the check and all that. And so our tool costs less than $10 to pay the farmer up to $1 million in a single settlement. That's how you solve the problem. You got to make it affordable and you got to make it easy.
So I go into Bushel Wallet, and it sounds like I could basically do all my business right there. I'm collecting money, I'm sending money out to make payments. Is that how it works?
Yeah. So think about Bushel Wallet very much like a quasi bank account. We're banked by a company out of Memphis. They've got a proper checking account you get created in the process. It's FDIC insured. You can keep your balance there if you want. And your ability to go and simply say, hey, pay the invoice off for $10,000 and help, there's a settlement coming tomorrow for $50,000. That's all happening in the same tool. And as long as our companies, the co-ops that we work with and others, grain elevators, ethanol plants and mills, say, hey, we're going to use this tool now, it makes it easy for the farmer. For the farmer, they sign up one time. So imagine being able to open a checking account, a digital checking account, and be able to make it easy to move money in less than 3 minutes, because that's how long it takes to set up our offering. And so you're set up one time, and no matter who you do business with, as long as they're using the Bushel tools, you only had to do that once. And now you're set up in our economy of moving money around. And that's our goal, is to build it and make it easy. The farmer gets this really beautiful, bright yellow Bushel debit card in the mail. They can go spend that money at the fuel stop or whatever they want to do from there. But we make it easy. So.
And we're 3D printing the Bushel Visa card out of North Dakota corn, right?
I wish. Not yet, but there was an option from Visa where we could.
There was?
A sustainable debit card that was out of some sort of biodegradable product. But
we need to make that happen, man. North Dakota corn 3D printing. Just, Jake Jordan says, CEO of Bushel Inc. They're doing some just fantastic thing for our great farmers in the ag industry. And he's going to stick around for another segment to talk about some of the feedback he's getting from his customers about this, of course, where they're headed next in this great industry. $300 billion paid by check. It's such a staggering amount. And I'm glad that gentleman from Fargo is jumping in there and making a difference for our farmers. Also, if you want to email the show, very easy to do. It's studio@chrisbergshow.com. Again, studio@chrisbergshow.com. Jake Jordan and much more coming up right after this.
Attention, this is a consumer alert. Governor Tim Walz is dodging the question. Is he going to follow California's lead and ban?
Your farm and business depends on a reliable source for energy. PetroServe USA is the customer-owned co-op committed to being a stable source of fuel for your equipment and propane to dry your grain. We have the capacity to make sure you never run out of fuel and to keep prices stable. Dependability, competitive prices, and exemplary service. That's PetroServe USA, helping America fuel better.
PetroServe USA.
Call today.
All businesses. Governor Walz wants to have it both ways, but the people of Minnesota demand clarity. Call Governor Walz today at 651-201-3400 and ask him if he's going to bring California's car and truck ban to Minnesota. Prepared and paid for by the Domestic Policy Caucus.
The big election is next week, and Rob Schmidt is on Newsmax every night this week talking about the real issues the big media won't. Rob shows how inflation really is killing us. Then Rob looks at our border, soaring crime, the dangers of the woke agenda, and more. And Rob speaks with the candidates in the big races that will change America. He talks the latest polls with Dick Morris and so much more. I watch Rob Schmidt on Newsmax. You should too. Millions are switching to Newsmax. And this weekend, Newsmax will be the only major cable channel airing President Trump's big rallies live. Get the Trump schedule from Newsmax. Just text the word rally to 39747. That's rally to 39747. That's how you get the Trump info and more. Text rally to 39747. That's rally to 39747. And be sure and watch Newsmax and Rob Schmidt today. You're going to love it.
Hey, Flag listeners, this is Spencer Brandt from Media Shack LLC. We are your one-stop shop for business branding in Fargo. Whether it's decals, banners, vehicle graphics, custom apparel, and much more, we do it and we do it in-house. Check out our website at MediaShackFargo.com for more information, or on social media at MediaShackFargo. That's MediaShackFargo.com for all your business branding needs.
Jay Thomas from the Jay Thomas Show and Rides, a satisfied customer of Hot Springs Spas and pool tables too. Tell us what you love about your hot tub.
I love Hot Springs Spas. It is so relaxing, especially if you've got a rough day or if you're feeling, a little bit under the weather. You get in that hot tub and everything just goes away. You can sleep good at night. You physically feel better, but there really is a place in your life for a hot tub. And Hot Springs are the best on the planet. They're so energy efficient.
Join the family of satisfied customers at Hot Springs Spas and pool tables too. West Fargo, Grand Forks, and Bismarck.
They drove for miles and miles of those twisting, turning roads.
Welcome back to the Chris Berg Show here on a Feel Good Friday. Thanks to Giving Hearts Day and Dakota Medical Foundation. Special guest joining us today, Jake Jornstedt, CEO of Bushel Inc. They've come out with a great new product called Bushel Wallet, where they're going to go out there and revolutionize the ag industry to help farmers get payments more quickly. Presuming also save some money, have more liquidity from those payments. They're not getting charged as much. And it's a $300 billion that will be paid this year by paper check, which is absolutely stunning. Jake, thanks for sticking around. So I'm curious, I've got to imagine, because I think a lot of times people think, oh, you know what, farmer is a little bit older, they're not that tech savvy. Number one, that's not true. So I'd like your take on that. And number two, I got to imagine your Christmas presents as of late have been pretty nice, coming from farmers going, oh my gosh, where's this been all my life?
We do get those comments. It's really fun to hear, farmers right now we're in harvest, right? And, you might have some guys running trucks for you, and you just want to know what the quality is looking like on what you're delivering to the facility or whatever. And the ability to see that scale ticket right on your app from Bushel, from your co-op, whatever it might be, it's pretty powerful for these guys as they make good decisions in the fall. It's crazy. There's 60-some thousand farms using our tool across the U.S. and Canada. Again, a whole bunch of them are going to get a bunch of paper checks over the course of the next few months. A lot of these guys would prefer, hey, I'm looking to get paid in January, not in December. I'm working on my tax budget plan, and that the idea that this is all just going to show up in paper just is baffling. And so lots of work to be done. To your point on farmers adopting, our customers, they have over 40% of their farms adopting the tool on average. Some of our customers, over 90% of those farmers, doesn't matter how old they are, they've got a smartphone now or an iPad, and they're using this tool. And, one of the original resistance points was, hey, farmers won't use it. And what some of our customers have figured out, the grain companies, is that their teams are the ones that are resisting, because if they send an electronic signature request to a farmer through the app, almost every time the farmer's signing it right on their phone. And so if they just would send it, the farmer's ready to react. They're ready to use these tools, and especially if it makes it easier for their life and saves them a lot of time. And so we think that's going to be the same thing for payments. The minute a farmer realizes they can get paid electronically and they don't got to drive an hour into town and find a bank to sign the check, their whole life's going to change. They're going to think differently about how much time they're spending on the road doing, ridiculous little tasks in town. It just makes no sense.
I was going to say, it's such a no-brainer that it's one of those things, like when I read it today, 300 billion, I was like, well, how can this be happening? There's not more fintech in the ag world. So
nobody's thinking about it. There's no investors in this space that have thought hard about how to make that farmer's life easier until recently. So there's just a lot of opportunity.
Isn't that just amazing? I mean, because we all need food to survive, and yet no one's thinking about, how do we utilize tech?
People in New York just don't know where their food comes from. I mean, this is just what it is. I mean, like where's the milk from? Well, it comes from the grocery store. Of course it does. How does the cow make milk? How does the cow get fed? Oh, it happens to be probably from the corn in North Dakota. That's just what it is. But a lot of people can't talk about that.
If you're just joining us, CEO of Bushel Inc., doing some great things in the ag industry, Jake Jornstedt is with us. So what's your market penetration? And then obviously for farmers listening, what's the onboarding process?
Yeah, for the farmer, it's super easy. If your local facility offers our tool, you just type your phone number in and you're in. We send you a text to verify it's you. And here you go. Here's your contracts. Here's your tickets. You're already a customer at the facility. Super easy for the farmer. It doesn't cost them a dime. Our wallet product is free to the farmer to set up their account. There's no cost to them there either. It's always for us, it's about letting the facility offer these tools to their farmer. So our penetration today, we're approaching 50% of the U.S. grain volume that's sold into the facility from the farmer, almost 50%. We have some of the biggest players in the industry that you can think of, all the way down to the small local co-ops on the platform. And our job is to make it easy for those companies to do business with their farmers and vice versa. And if we can do that, we're on a good path.
So are you beginning to position yourself as sort of a Stripe?
Yeah, it's like a Stripe or a Venmo or a PayPal for how agriculture moves money. Except remember, in agriculture, every farm is a sole proprietorship or an LLC. They're all businesses. And so it's not a consumer problem. It's a business-to-business problem. How can a farmer pay a $20,000 bill effectively? Those are the kinds of things that we're trying to solve for. That's different than what PayPal or Stripe think about.
One of the things you mentioned, again, CEO of Bushel Inc., Jake Jornstedt with us, is the fact that you've also got this Visa card. So I think it's important for not just the grain elevators who are your clients, but also the end user, the farmer, to realize like, hey, this money can get dumped into this account. But if I've got to go somewhere and buy some seed or whatnot, you can also just pull it right out of your Bushel account. Yes.
I mean, if you just delivered grain today and tomorrow you're running the truck to the co-op to fill up, and if that company's using our tool and they want to settle with you for that grain payment from yesterday, they can do it right now. They can push the button. And the next minute, you can swipe that debit card and fill up the truck with the money that you just got paid for your grain. I mean, it can be as close as real time. I mean, that's the future. That's inevitable. This whole idea that you have to wait a month for your check to arrive for what you sold is kind of the old way of doing things. And we need to change that, because you're making decisions now as a farm. You got to get that truck back on the road, whatever, and you're filling up. That's why we got the debit card. That's why we're making it easy for you to get paid. One of the other examples, let's say you got paid for a settlement, but the dollar amount was wrong. They had maybe done a miscalculation. They can quickly adjust and make up the gap in real time today. They don't have to wait for a week for the check to show up with the new dollar amount. And so those are the kind of things that I think make the farmer's life easier, and therefore they want to do business with you as a grain elevator.
I mean, Jake, this business in and of itself seems like, hey, this is all you got to focus on for market penetration. And it's going to be a very, very successful business and probably get positioned for acquisition. Hopefully that's not the case, but it's up to whatever you guys want to do. But is that your number one focus right now? Is this wallet, or are there other like verticals you're looking at? Or what? I guess my question is, what's the future in the ag industry for you?
For us, there's three areas of focus. One is we got to keep delivering a great product that those farmers love. We got to make it better. There's basic things like making it easier to figure out how many bushels of corn you really sold this year in total. Like those kind of little things that make their life a little bit easier. They don't have to do paperwork or do the math over here. That's the first thing, is just make the product great. We call it delighting the customer. How do we make the company, that elevator, and the farmer really excited about the core tools that we've provided? The second one is, how do we help more transactions become digital? Not just the payment, but also the ability for the farmer. Now they can finally say, hey, I like that futures price right now. I'm going to lock it in today. They can submit the offer through our offering to our customers now. And 1 in 3 farmers are doing that. But that needs to be everybody at some point. Nobody picks up the phone and calls their stockbroker today to buy a share of stocks. I mean, this is just being done on your Robinhood app or wherever you're doing it, your charlesschwab.com. That's how this industry needs to operate. So that's the second part of our focus. And then the third one is, of course, helping make this money movement more streamlined. Those are the kind of the 3 main areas. And there's so much to solve in agriculture. We own a company called Farm Logs, which lets farmers manage their fields and their P&L and their crop marketing. That'll be a focus for us next year. But right now, we're just trying to deliver on what we promised, which would be to make these things easier to do for the day-to-day life.
There happens to be somebody in our state that created a pretty good company called Great Plains Software, which was accounting. Are you doing stuff in the accounting space as well for farmers yet, or is that on the horizon?
It's a good question. It's a long-term view. At least on the farmer side, there's a lot of challenges around accounting. Most farmers are using QuickBooks or something like that. What's crazy about the Great Plains story, Great Plains Software sold their software into grain elevators. So a lot of the companies we still work with today, some of them are running Great Plains Software still. That's what we're integrating with. So we're tying into this system that was built in Fargo many years ago to get the grain data out and make it easy for the farmer to see. And so we're already, working with they call it Dynamics GP now, right? It's Microsoft's tool. That's pretty popular in the space today. So we still interface, but that's how behind the industry is. We're still using stuff that was built in the 80s and 90s. What are we doing? There's a ton of opportunity to fix those problems. And there are some good companies out there, but we have to integrate with a lot of these systems that just don't make sense in the 21st century.
Man, Jake Jorgensen, CEO of Bushel Inc. I want to give you the last word. Anything else you want to add or share, Jake, that I'm not asking you?
Well, good luck to all those farmers out there this harvest. Hopefully you sold that grain ahead of time when futures were good. Looks like 2023, November, corn futures looking good right now. Get into it. Start thinking about next year already. And we'll see. 2023 is going to be a really interesting year. Thanks to all the farmers who are working with us and using our tools with their elevators. And hopefully we can bring some more value next year. So thanks for having me, Chris.
If people want more info, just go to bushelwallet.com or what?
Yeah, bushelwallet.com if you want to learn about that tool. Bushel Powered, POWERED.com is our main website.
Beautiful. Jake, we really appreciate the time. Congratulations, and I will talk to you soon, okay?
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it, man.
Take care. Stay with us. When we come back, I think one of the biggest challenges that we're hearing, at least that I'm hearing from parents today, and I mentioned this several times before, is when we talk about the education system today, parents now are telling me, look, Chris, I think rather than the 3 R's, we need to go to the 4 R's, not just reading, writing, and arithmetic. It needs to be reading, writing, arithmetic, and righteousness. Our guest coming up next is going to talk about his organization, what he's doing to restore character, leadership, righteousness within our nation, which is so needed today. Again, if you want to email the show, I want to say thank you to Red Wing Shoes for sponsoring our studio email inbox. If you're someone right now that's out there working hard in a blue collar gig, please do yourself a favor. Stop into Red Wing Shoes. It's 3003 Main Avenue in Fargo. And stick around. We got much more coming up right after this.
Light wind and mainly.
Been looking for a golf cart for the lake, cabin, or the course? Largest selection of Club Car Onward golf carts within 150 miles is available at All Season Motorsports. 0% financing. That's 0% financing for up to 36 months on 2022 and 23 Club Car golf carts. All inventory must go. Largest selection of club cars at 0% financing. All Season Motorsports off I-94 and Cheyenne Street, West Fargo. Hurry before they're gone.
Cutters Ramjack North.
Have you been living with that musty smell in your damp basement? Perhaps you've been struggling with water seeping in, but you've been putting off the inevitable. At Precision Concrete Cutters, we have a solution for every basement problem. From wall bracing to water seepage to complete foundation replacement. Your home is your greatest asset, so let Precision Concrete Cutters help you preserve and protect it.
Go to pccnd.com for a free estimate and to learn more.
Listen, this company in Fargo is paying a $17 per hour starting wage, a possible $750 bonus, hourly increases after 90 days, quarterly wage adjustments, and health insurance benefit at 30 hours per week. Red River Human Services of Fargo. This will be a job you'll be proud of, helping adults with developmental disabilities with a culture and benefits nobody else can match. Apply now at Red River Human Services at rrhsf.org. That's rrhsf.org.
Guess who's attacking Measure 1 and the term limits that 81% of North Dakota voters support?
Let me guess. Career politicians and lobbyists?
You got it. Term limits are working for the people in 36 other states. And with a yes vote on Measure 1, term limits will finally be put to work for us.
I agree. In North Dakota, citizens should be in charge, not career politicians. I'm voting yes on Measure 1 for term limits. Paid for by U.S. Term Limits. Howard Rich, Chairman.
Download the app.
Sign up and say bye-bye, bugs. Tommy's Express Car Wash is that easy. Tommy's offers a cleaner car wash and an overall better experience. Wash your car as often as needed. And the best part, after 3 washes, it pays for itself, and you can use it at all 3 other FM locations. Download the app, pre-buy, and skip the line. Or stop by one of their 3 locally owned Tommy's Express Car Wash locations. Tommy's Express Car Wash. Love your ride.
What do you tell folks when they ask who your insurance agent is and why?
DJ's great. His practice has been not just an insurance agent, but also there's a friendship there. They are very open about their communications with their clients. They want to do everything they can to help their clients. I've got multiple policies with him: auto, home, life insurance, an umbrella policy. Anything and everything you need insurance-wise, you can get from DJ Coulter Insurance.
DJ Coulter, American Family Insurance, 235-6641, djcoulter.com.
My name is Kim Hegvik, and I'm running for Cass County State's Attorney. As a prosecutor in Cass County for over 16 years, I have focused on making our community safer by holding offenders accountable. My Smart on Crime approach will keep our community safe by incarcerating dangerous and repeat offenders while addressing the root causes of criminal behavior, like mental illness and addiction. Please vote for me, Kim Hegvik, for Cass County State's Attorney.
Paid for by Kim for Cass County, Janet Tronier, Treasurer.
Living this simple life, what does that mean? Broughton Cabinets knows. Their designers understand that some families want simple, clean, uncluttered kitchens. Yet they also realize that your coffee maker, smoothie blender, and bagel toaster all need to be easily available, yet cleverly hidden. Relax. Broughton Cabinets has been building custom cabinets for almost 50 years with the Broughton Promise, quality that stays on budget. Visit their new showroom on the I-29 frontage road south of Fleet Farm.
I just wanna fly. Put your arms around me, baby. Put your arms around me, baby.
Welcome back to the Chris Burns Show, your daily dose of truth to help set you free here on a Feel Good Friday. Thanks to Dakota Medical Foundation and the Giving Hearts Day. We all know Giving Hearts Day. It's in February, and DMF does incredible things to go out there and just raise millions and millions and millions of dollars for nonprofits within our community. And then the big question is like, okay, so how are these dollars, how is this money making a positive impact within the community? And it's exactly why they're sponsoring our Feel Good Friday every single Friday here on the Chris Berg Show. I mentioned just a moment ago, as I go out there and visit with parents, one of the biggest challenges that they see today is what's going on within not just our nation, but also within the education system. And they say, Chris, we're just tired of all this sort of ancillary stuff that's happening in education. We all know the 3 R's: reading, writing, and arithmetic. And recently we said, you know what, maybe it's time to add another R here. And let's talk about reading, writing, arithmetic, and righteousness. That's what a lot of parents are telling me they want our kids to learn in the classroom. And one organization that's working to do that, to develop great leaders and character within our young people here in the nation, is with Scout Executive for Northern Lights Council, Boy Scouts of America. Richard McCartney's joining us today. And Richard, welcome to our Feel Good Friday. It's great to have you. You might be muted on your side, Richard. So if you want to see if you can unmute yourself, please. And we may need to call Richard, guys, or we don't have you yet, Richard. So if we can bring him back in, Chris, and maybe we can get him squared away. Otherwise, Richard, we may just call you, or if you want to call us at 701-271-1100, we can bring you in on the phone. And again, that's 701-271-1100. I'm saying that again because I can see Richard getting ready to dial. So he's going to join us here in just a moment. I had a great opportunity to visit with him earlier today. And he brought up a great point when he said, Chris, when you think about what's happening today in our nation, are there a lot of other organizations out there that are talking about leadership, character development within our youth? Maybe sports, but, there's not a ton of them. So, Chris, if you want to let me know here on the private chat when we've got Richard on, that would be great. And we can get him plugged in, or if you want to let me know via Slack as well. And we'll bring Richard into the show when we've got him on the phone here and give him a chance to talk about John, are you asking me? Or okay, thank you, John. John's like, hey, you got Richard? I'm Ron Burgundy. So, Richard, welcome to the show, man. It's great to have you. Let's just start with Boy Scouts of America. I don't know what happened on the tech side here, but Boy Scouts of America and what you guys are doing to develop leaders within our young people here in the nation.
Yeah, I mean that's we feel like it's important. We've been doing that kind of work for over 100 years. Our organization has been teaching the Scout Oath and the Scout Law to young people since 1910. And, if you go into any community in our state or in the state of Minnesota in the listening area, and if you did a poll of the people who lead the community, there's a large majority of them that are former Scouts. And that's not an accident. It's just a very powerful curriculum that combines life skills and character in a way that's fun for young people. And the kids that come through the program don't realize that their character is being built or that they're becoming leaders. They just think they're having fun, and which is kind of the way we designed it. Baden Powell designed it as a games with a purpose is what he called it. And we still operate. We've stayed relevant. We've changed things. We keep up with the time. We don't do all the same things we did in 1955. We do things that are relevant today, but we still, our basic mission is to prepare young people to lead successful lives by instilling in them the values found in the Scout Oath and the Scout Law.
What I'm curious about, because you and I had a chance to visit earlier today, and you said, Chris, Boy Scouts of America made a tremendous impact on my life. You've been a part of this organization now for, I'm presuming, quite some time based on our conversation earlier today. You hear so many stories these days about, for example, the violence in the classroom. It just seems this unprecedented level of what's going on with students lashing out at teachers and other students. And what do you see, as you've been around kids now for a while, sort of the factors that are starting this, I don't know, degradation is the right word, but you just see things kind of falling off within this younger generation. What's at the root of it, do you think?
I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not smart. I'd be in a probably different. I don't know that I could answer that question per se about what's the root of everything, but I do feel like there is a lack of, people don't. There's a lack of absolutes. There's a lack of right and wrong in many corners, and kids like boundaries. I think, psychologists have been telling us that for forever. And, for us, we give young people in our program a framework in which to make decisions and hopefully make the right decisions when no one else is around, to be able to looking over their shoulder. And I think that's really the magic of the Scout Oath and the Scout Law, is that it gives a code of conduct that's relevant, whether you're male or female or young or old. And the folks who come through it, it rubs off. And I think our kids that have come through our program in general, don't participate in some of those things. And I think they tend to be, and that's not true in every case, of course. It certainly wasn't true in my case. I had my own issues, but over time, I improved and I got better. And I think scouting had a lot to do with that, and I've seen that in my own son's life, and I've seen that in the lives of other young people. And I can give you practical, specific examples of how that's affected someone's life.
Yeah, I would love to hear some of those stories. If you're just join us right now on a Feel Good Friday, thanks to Dakota Medical Foundation and Giving Hearts Day. Richard McCartney, he is with Boy Scouts of America. And if you've got some great anecdotes, success stories, Richard, I'd love to hear them.
Yeah, I would like to tell one story, which it's a great object lesson in how our program has worked. And we had a merit badge counselor. Merit badges we have 130 or so merit badges in the Boy Scouts around hobbies and careers. And one of the merit badge is personal management, and it teaches financial literacy. It teaches budgeting. It teaches planning, interest, all of those kinds of things that we wish, people would learn. It's a required badge for Eagle. And we had a counselor here locally in Fargo who was teaching the personal management merit badge to a group of at-risk scouts from at-risk families in our community. And one of the young men told the story that his dad was going to buy a television set. Now, he was going to rent a TV from one of the rent-to-own places because the Super Bowl was coming up. And the young man actually told his dad, hey, Dad, we'll probably pay 3 times as much for that TV if you rent it. Why don't we wait when we save the money and buy the TV when we have enough money, and the TV we have is good enough for now. And that was obviously a really good fiscal decision on the part of the young person. But the counselor, thought about it later, and he said he probably saved that family from a debt trap, and he probably reversed generational poverty in that family with the lessons that young man learned. And I mean, we're talking about a 13-year-old scout that advised his parents not to rent to own. And that's just one, practical example, but I think it's a very, very powerful one.
Can we get that program in our school system like yesterday? I mean, it's shocking that we're not teaching that in schools today. Rich, we got just about a minute and a half left. So I want to give you a chance just to give a shout out to Giving Hearts Day and the great things that Giving Hearts Day does for Boy Scouts of America. And then if you've got a strong call to action for people listening and go, yeah, you know what, we do need more opportunities out there to teach leadership and fiscal management to young people out there today.
Yes, no, I want to thank you so much to the Dakota Medical Foundation and the work that they do and the millions of dollars that they raise for all of the great charities that are part of the Giving Hearts Day. It's a wonderful thing. And scouting, we do need your dollars. We need your support. We will be one of the organizations that's going to be available to give to on February 9th. And, we're launching a brand new mental health and wellness program in the Boy Scouts that's going to help address the growing issue of suicide and just mental health and we're going to destigmatize mental health, and we're going to use our platform and our bandwidth to do that. And it's a brand new thing. And we're going to be, like I said, scouting's always trying to remain relevant, but everything we do costs money like everything else. And so we would appreciate your help on Giving Hearts Day.
So do you have a website they can go if they want to donate now?
Yes. You could donate today at nlcbsa.org/give. That's nlcbsa.org/give.
Richard McCartney with Boy Scouts of America. Feel Good Friday. Thanks to Dakota Medical Foundation and Giving Hearts Day. We appreciate the time and what you're doing to help kids get some fiscal management in their lives. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate the opportunity.
You bet. God bless you and have a great, great weekend. Speaking about the weekend, when we come back, it is a big, big and important day in North Dakota. Tomorrow, we'll explain right after this.
Hi, Jeff from a Cutting Edge Gallery of Jewelry, and we're talking lab diamonds. At a Cutting Edge, you always get the best stone for your money, the biggest, whitest, brightest diamond, because that's what we guarantee. And in lab diamonds, we do the exact same thing. You can get a 1-carat lab diamond, D-color, the whitest a diamond can be, for under $2,000. And remember, you get the best cutting at a Cutting Edge, and we match that up with the largest selection of mountings in the upper Midwest. A Cutting Edge Jewelry.
I'm John Hoeven, candidate for the U.S. Senate, and I approve this message.
In their unequivocal endorsement of John Hoeven, the Fargo Forum says,
John Hoeven has racked up an impressive record, and he's consistently delivered for North Dakota.
Also, the NRA has again endorsed Hoeven and gives him an A+ for his defense of Second Amendment rights.
John Hoeven works for North Dakota.
Vote John Hoeven for Senate. Paid for by Hoeven for Senate.
Hi, it's Nancy Kelly from Labor Masters. Election season is upon us, and we're proud to be the exclusive sponsor of the election coverage on AM 1100 The Flag, November 8th. Labor Masters provides employees to many industries here and throughout the surrounding region. So protecting the economy locally and nationally is personal to me. No matter what side of the aisle you're on, cast your vote to ensure businesses can continue to keep people working, buying, selling, and growing. Labor Masters would like to remind you to vote.
Are you suffering from neuropathy? Do you experience stabbing, numbness, tingling, or burning in your feet? Are you tired of sleepless nights and avoiding life due to pain? If you've been diagnosed with neuropathy or have pain or numbness in your feet, Call us right now before it's too late at 701-929-7505. Again, 701-929-7505. Neuropathy is a very serious and progressive disease where your nerves start to break down. It can lead to balance problems, complete loss of independence, and in some cases, amputation. Our program addresses the underlying causes and doesn't simply mask your symptoms with medication. In fact, many patients start to feel relief from their symptoms within weeks. There's no surgery and no use of prescription drugs. Pick up the phone and call now at 701-929-7505 or find out if you're a candidate for our neuropathy program that has changed thousands of lives. Call us today at 701-929-7505.
Looking for a rewarding career in healthcare with excellent benefits? Help enrich the lives of the men and women who served our country by joining the North Dakota Veterans Home family. Whether you're a registered nurse, certified nurse's assistant, medication technician, social worker, or have a background in administration or maintenance, we may have something available for you. Visit ndvh.nd.gov to learn more about career opportunities today.
This ad is sponsored by the North Dakota Cares Coalition and aired in cooperation with the North Dakota Broadcasters Association and this station.
Every time we hear the music and we're in this love together, we got the kind that lasts.
Welcome back to a Feel Good Friday here on the Chris Berg Show, your daily dose of truth to help set you free. We're coming to you live from the, thank you, John, for that music, man, taking us into a weekend. The PetroServe USA studio, helping you in America fuel better. Want to remind you as you're heading out for the weekend, because it is the deer opener here in North Dakota, at least the gun deer opener here in North Dakota. Governor Doug Burgum tweeting that out earlier today. So as you're heading out maybe to that, be sure and stop into your local PetroServe USA. They've got that nice, big, beautiful store in Harwood, right outside the Amazon Fulfillment Center. And again, the beautiful thing about many of the PetroServe USAs, it also has a Cafe USA. So they're also helping you not just fuel better, but also feel better. Get some burgers there, some hot stuff pizzas, some really, really delicious food at your local PetroServe USA. All right, on the other sister station we have here, 970 WDAY, there's been a debate for the past couple hours between Matt King, running for Cass County Sheriff, and also current Cass County Sheriff Jesse Johnner. The one and only super producer Chris Larson's been listening to some of that throughout the last couple of hours. So, Chris, any updates there? Anything interesting that people should know about?
You know, Chris, it was real interesting leading up to the start of our show. One of the last topics is what is the biggest issue in the Cass County Sheriff's Office. You have Cass County Sheriff Jesse Johnner, who's been in the position for 3 years, and you've got Matt King, a deputy sheriff that's looking to unseat Johnner. And they really had two totally different opinions. Johnner is talking about the workforce retention and getting enough staff, where King was actually mentioned, and it surprised me a little bit, communication being the biggest issue in the Cass County Sheriff's Office. I mean, these guys were going back and forth today, and in the time that I was able to listen, one of the biggest issues that was discussed today was that investigation where an inappropriate photo was accidentally sent to a fellow law enforcement officer, not meant for him. That came up and was a huge point of discussion today.
Yeah, I remember we talked about that when that news first came out, and it was interesting, but it fell a little bit flat, it felt like. So maybe it'll have more of a play come November 8th. And speaking of November 8th, we're going to have special election night coverage for you. Pretty much, it sounds like all night, the way elections have been going as of late. We want to say thank you to Labor Masters for sponsoring our election night coverage. Super producer Chris Larson is going to be with us in studio that night, giving you the latest up-to-the-minute results, really all across the country. And I think that's the big question that many people are asking today. Is the red wave going to be real? It feels like it could be. But again, based on elections, you just never know what's so. So, Chris Larson, I know you've been producing What's on Your Mind in the morning. A lot of great conversations going on there. What's your take on a national red wave? Yay or nay?
You know, from everything that we've heard from our listeners, a red wave is coming. I mean, and you look for us here in North Dakota, just to the east of us over in Minnesota. I mean, you've got the race between Scott Jensen and Tim Walz. the Attorney General's race between Jim Schultz and Keith Ellison. Those are races that are going to be huge coming into Tuesday, but all eyes are on that. Is the red wave going to hit Congress? What's the red wave going to do in Minnesota? I've been excited for election coverage, but I'm really excited to jump in and be a part of this one this year.
Yeah, I think Minnesota is obviously going to be very interesting to watch. It'll be interesting to see it too, so we can kind of get a temperature for the rest of the country to see what happens in New Hampshire. I don't know when those polls close, but that's going to be a close U.S. Senate race. For a while, everyone thought it was going to just stay blue. Many people now may think that flips to red. If New Hampshire flips to red, and we find out pretty early on Tuesday night, I think that's a very, very good sign for what's going to happen throughout the rest of the country. Georgia is going to be one of those states that's going to have all eyes on Georgia. So take a close peek there. We'll see if anything happens similar to 2020, where they were like, okay, we're counting the ballots. We're going to shut this down for a while. Hopefully they're going to have better poll managers going on in Georgia this time than they did before. But I think Chris is spot on. And gosh, I don't know what's going to happen. It's so hard to read the Twin Cities from up here. But based on the momentum and what you just sort of feel and sense is happening, especially in that Jim Schultz, Keith Ellison race, is that also going to transfer over to Scott Jensen and Tim Walz? I mean, Tim Walz has been spending millions and millions and millions of dollars weekly to try to just pummel Scott Jensen. And Scott Jensen's been standing strong. And I want to remind you, Steve Hallstrom's going to be sitting in for me on Monday, but Scott Jensen will be joining us here on the show. Get a chance to hear sort of his final take and his final call to action from you to get out and vote for him. And I really believe if everybody in greater Minnesota gets out, grab your friends, say, hey, look, we got to go flip Minnesota and get this gubernatorial seat in place. It's going to be a dramatic and positive change for the great state of Minnesota. I think another important race from a gubernatorial standpoint that many people are going to have their eyes on, of course, is Arizona, Carrie Lake. It seems like she's going to walk away the winner now. I say this not because it's going to be necessarily a close race, but I think her leadership is going to speak volumes about what's that going to look like if and when President Trump announces here in the middle of October. And of course, from a border perspective, I mean, we didn't get a chance to even talk about that today, but if you look at the latest border numbers, it is absolutely staggering, the number of people that are coming across our borders from Cuba, Nicaragua, that northern triangle. So should be fascinating. I won't be with you on Monday. Again, Steve Hallstrom sitting in, but be sure and join us here at 4 p.m. And then Tuesday, we'll be giving you all the latest on the elections, what to be looking for, and of course, election night coverage thanks to Labor Masters. I'm Chris Berg. Thanks so much for joining us here on a Feel Good Friday. Thanks to Giving Hearts Day. Have a great weekend. We'll see you back here Monday at 4.
Attention.